Joy Day from the Better Business Bureau is our friend Tiffany Schultz. Tiffany, welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you for coming back. And today we're going to be talking about avoiding buying flood damaged cars with a recent hurricane that just took place in Florida. That gave way to some pretty mass flooding there. And overall, there's been actually quite a few flooding events that have occurred across the U.S. And across the world. And you kind of always wonder when those cars, what happens to all those flooded cars if insurance companies, clear them out or dealerships, what do they do with all of those things? And some of them do end up back in circulation. So today, hopefully, Tiffany, you're going to tell us how we can be on the lookout. Doesn't mean that it's not a bad thing to buy it, but we want to make sure you don't get scammed into one that or a too good to be good sale with one of these vehicles. So set us up here. What is a BBB Scene with flooded cars and repurposing them and selling them and scammers?
When disasters happen across the country, scammers take their opportunity to take flood damaged vehicles that may have been totaled out by insurance or, if they've never been insured, they take these cars and they move them to other areas of the country that may be unfamiliar with what's happening in those other states. And they try to move them and pawn them off on unsuspecting consumers. So before you purchase a used vehicle, and we know that used vehicles have been in very high demand, we want you to take your time, comb through that vehicle to make sure that it's not a flood damaged car before you go ahead and sign on the line and purchase that.
And guess what? Tiffany's kind enough to give me a quick look inside on just asking the right questions here. So the first one is ask to see the title. Pretty simple, right?
The title is going to tell you what state it came from. And if it came from one of those states that have experienced floodwaters through the hurricanes, South Carolina, Florida, anywhere along the coast, that should raise a red flag. And we're not talking tomorrow. We're talking 2-3 months down the road, 4 months down the road that these cars could show up in our area. You also want to look on the title for something stamped as salvage. A salvage vehicle has been totaled out by the insurance company, and there's a reason why it's stamped salvage. So look at those two things for those red flags before you even look any further into the car.
Next one is carefully check the dashboard. I bet you're going to find some things potentially as you look closer.
Make sure that all gauges work. You can look around and see if that dashboard has been removed somehow. Look behind the gauges, look and see if maybe there's some watermarks behind the gauges. That's going to tell you if there was some flood damage there. So that's one place to look, but we have many other places that we can look at this car before we go ahead and say we want it.
Yeah, and the electronics, I mean, what car nowadays isn't like full of electronics? Like, I can't imagine a flooded car working ever again properly when you think of all of those electronics that are part of a vehicle.
You never know. There's all different kinds of cars out there. There's all kinds of different shifter levers. They may not be electronic. There's all kinds of gauges, your radio. Think about what's all on your dashboard. There's a lot of things on your dashboard. You want to make sure that they all work, because if one of them doesn't work, and it may raise a red flag that, hey, what's wrong here?
Another one too is the interior. When you open up the vehicle, if that vehicle had been sitting in water or been drying out and whatever, you might notice something or even see damage potentially. So you really got to check closely inside the vehicle.
Look for discolored fabrics on the seats. Does it smell like mildew? Has it recently been cleaned with strong cleaners? Does the carpet match the vehicle? Has it been recarpeted? Is the carpet laid correctly, or are there gaps in the carpet? Can you pull that carpet up? If you can pull that carpet up, look at the underside of the vehicle. Does it have holes in it? These are all red flags that something could be wrong, and it may look okay now, but down the road you may experience some problems.
Another good one to turn to is getting a vehicle history report. Where can we find that?
You can pull the vehicle history report. It's important if it's been insured. If it has not been insured, the vehicle history report is going to do nothing for you. But the National Insurance Crime Bureau offers a report for you, and anything that the insurance company has reported to that bureau would show up on that report.
Yeah, good place to try. In Wisconsin, you have to have insurance when you are driving vehicles. So, but that doesn't mean that that's every state has that law. So something to check into for sure. Remember to check under the hood. Now, this could be a hard one if you don't know what's under there, but you might see some red flags.
Pop that hood. Is there standing water? Is there mud? Look under the tires, look under the flaps of the vehicle. Is there mud standing, it's, caked onto the vehicle? That could be a red flag that something is wrong too. So you got all these things that are adding up, and the red flag should start to go off that this could be a flood damaged vehicle. Maybe I need to look for something else and compare the vehicle and make my decision from there. Somebody selling a vehicle is usually going to have it in tip-top shape. So there shouldn't be anything wrong with a used vehicle that's on the market.
And let's talk about the dealers that are selling vehicles. I mean, we need to do our homework, and we could spend just our interview just on picking legitimate businesses, which we have. But when you're looking for that legitimate business, where would you start to make sure that you are buying from somebody legit?
Now, keep in mind that this just doesn't apply to dealers. This could be a private seller too. So if it's a private seller, you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper to do research on them. But if you are working with a business, we want you to start at bbb.org. Check out business ratings, customer reviews, if they have any complaints against them. How did that business handle the complaint? Do an internet search on the company. What are people saying about them? You can type in the company name, follow it by the word scam complaint and review, get a lot of information there. Go ahead and really dig into your research. Ask friends and family for recommendations. Who did they use to buy a vehicle with? We all are very familiar with the big dealerships around the area, but there's those small dealerships too that want your business just as much as the large dealers. And there are legitimate companies out there, and we want you to do your research before you choose one.
Yeah, and good to point out that, yeah, you could be buying from somebody from eBay or so, name your company, name your ad in the paper or whatever. So definitely you want to ask a lot of questions and do that research no matter where you're purchasing from. And finally, I think part of the research project, and this would be my number one to do personally, is get it inspected by somebody else. Take it off the lot or take it to someone that that can look at it.
There's a lot of mechanic shops that will do pre-purchase inspections. You just have to look for them and again, check them out too before you do business with them. Or a friend or a family member who has that mechanical ability that can look over the vehicle is also a great choice. Just don't take the vehicle for what it's worth when you just take a peek at it, because a lot of these problems could be disguised. Even if it's not a flood damaged vehicle, there could be something wrong with it. So it's super important to have it checked pre-purchase.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, it's high demand for used cars right now. So I think the extra homework is definitely worth it because you don't know what you could be buying potentially, and you definitely don't want to be out the money that you're already paying plus some for a bad vehicle. Tiffany, thank you so much. If people do want to find more information or report, how can they do so?
Head on over to bbb.org.
Tiffany, thank you so much. We'll check back in with you real soon.
Thanks for having me.